Hi, everyone. Okay, let me adjust my camera. Hold on. This is better. Is this better? Okay. Okay, happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. We'll talk about Apple and Tesla. Um, how's everyone? Doing well? Okay. Um, I took a nap today, so I'm wide awake. I don't think I'll fall asleep today. Okay, well, for those of you who were concerned if I was doing well this Tuesday, I am doing much better today. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about Apple and Tesla. There are two American high tech companies that have invested heavily in China, and the country has become the largest single market for both companies outside the US, contributing 19% for Apple and 22% for Tesla of their total revenue in the recent fiscal year. Now, China's economic downturn has affected Apple and Tesla's sales as demand for high end cell phones and EV cars wanes. Apple and Tesla are also the first targets of US China decoupling amid the escalating geopolitical tension. The increasingly daunting challenges and uncertainties in the Chinese market has made their stocks the worst performing stocks among the seven major US tech stocks. I've been reading about Tesla and Apple's grim outlook for some time, in China for some time. And this morning, I saw that Tim Cook is in Shanghai, and there's a video showing a Chinese woman throwing a temper tantrum in front of a group of Apple fans. That piqued my interest. And this woman was mad at Apple. Her behavior somehow shows the kind of challenges that Apple has in the Chinese market. So I will play you that video. Um, Now, we haven't finished the first quarter of 2024 yet, but Tesla stock has slid 30% year to date already. Its sales and prices have both dropped in China. What's more troubling is the recent is the reaction that Beijing has to the recent disclosure of SpaceX in a classified contract with the U.S. intelligence agency to build a spy satellite network. So we will also talk about China's reaction. So today's agenda is first, we'll talk about Apple's troubles, and then followed with Tesla's troubles in China. Okay, first things first, Apple. So on February 1st, Apple released its first quarter financial report for the fiscal year 2024, which was actually the fourth quarter of 2023 calendar year. Apple's revenue in the Greater China region for the last quarter of last year, last quarter of 2023, was $20.83 billion, and far below analysts' expectation of $23.5 billion, right? Almost 21, short of 21 billion against an expectation of 23.5. And Apple stated that while it achieved sales growth in all regions globally, well, no, actually, I backtrack. So Apple stated that it achieved sales growth in all regions outside of Greater China. Sales in Greater China decreased by nearly 13% compared to the same period last year, making the company's poorest performance in China in recent years. Now, since Apple launched its iPhone 15 last September, sales of iPhone 15 or 15 series have lagged behind previous generations. Apple's sales in the Chinese market continue to be weak this year. During the Lunar New Year period, Apple even offered discounts of more than 1,300 yuan in China to stimulate consumption or purchase, but the effect was limited. Although Apple stores still sell the devices at full price, in January, Apple offered rare discounts for the iPhone 15 in mainland China through its third-party retailers. So given that Apple had not reduced the price of its latest iPhones for many years, this move was unusual. And then Apple offered discounts again during the March 8th Women's Day. Let's talk about how deep the discounts were. So for example, iPhone 15, 128 GB was priced at 4,588 renminbi on Pinduoduo's website, right? PDD. I think its short name is PDD, Pinduoduo. It's 1,411 yuan lower than its retail price of 59.99, and that's a 24% discount. An iPhone 15 Pro Max, 256 GB, usually sells for 9,999 yuan in the stores, but it's priced at 88.99 yuan on JD.com, and that's an 11% discount. So although iPhone sales in the Chinese market are increasingly reliant on discounts, sales volumes weren't up. According to data from market research firm Counterpoint Research released on March 5th, the first 6 weeks of this year, Apple's iPhone sales, during the first 6 weeks of this year, Apple's iPhone sales in China fell by 24% when compared with the same period last year. And the company now ranked fourth among Chinese smartphone suppliers. It used to be number 2. And its market share has dropped from 19% in 2023 to now 15.7%. Meanwhile, sales of Huawei's flagship phones are soaring. Huawei has been promoted by the Chinese government as a domestic brand in its patriotic propaganda. Now, Huawei chose to announce its new 5G phone, the Mate 60 Pro, during U.S. Commerce Secretary, what's her name? Gina Raimondo? Yeah, during her visit to China last August. And shortly after, right? So Huawei announced its new 5G phone in August. Then in September, we heard some government agencies in Beijing and Tianjin prohibited its employees from bringing foreign brand phones, cell phones, such as iPhones, into workplace. And in December, sources inside China confirmed that in the previous couple of months, right? So in October, November, possibly September, government departments and state-owned enterprises in at least 8 provinces, Zhejiang, Guangdong, Jiangsu, Anhui, Shanxi, Shandong, Liaoning, and Hebei, had verbally instructed employees to start using domestic cell phones. And this mandate may be nationwide if it's not already. This mandate will be nationwide if it's not already. So facing these challenges, Apple's CEO Tim Cook is in Shanghai now. He posted on Weibo yesterday that he met with a mainland Chinese actor. His name is Zheng Kai. Actually, here's the Weibo post. Let me make this bigger. On the bond, and had a traditional Shanghainese breakfast with the actor. And the actor, if you look at the post, Tim spoke in a Shanghainese dialect. So he wrote "nong hao" instead of "ni hao" in a Shanghainese dialect. So here's his post, and the actor also posted his pictures with Tim Cook. And the posts quickly went viral on Weibo and perfectly synced to the promotion of the grand opening of Apple's new store in Shanghai. Cook's visit to China coincides with the opening of Apple's new store in the most affluent part of Shanghai, which is in the Jing'an district, on March 21st. That's today. This store is the 57th Apple store in the Greater China region and the 8th in Shanghai. According to Chinese media, the 3,800 square meter store would be Apple's highest spec flagship store in China, with a total investment exceeding $11 million US, and it's second only to the global flagship store on Fifth Avenue in New York. I don't know why Apple opened another store in Shanghai in the middle of declining sales. That I don't know, but because of the successful social media campaign launched by Apple showing Tim Cook's breakfast and his leisurely walk with a Chinese actor on the Bond, the opening of the new Apple store has attracted a lot of attention from the public. In Shanghai, Apple fans, let me show you. Here we go. Apple fans gathered for the grand opening to get a glimpse of Tim Cook. Here you see the video, and you see some people actually holding a white screen, reminiscent of the white paper movement. See that? And take a look at the amount of police on site. Let me play that again. You want to play that again? Yeah. So this was the grand opening was 7 o'clock or 7:30 at night. So look at the crowd in front of the new store and the white screens that people held out on their iPad. But not everyone there was an Apple fan. There was a one Chinese woman who detested her compatriots' love of foreign brands, and she got into an intense quarrel with the others. And someone captured the incident on the video. I have never seen a video that so vividly illustrates the division among Chinese consumers over the issue of domestic versus foreign brand or Apple versus Huawei. The woman, you will see that yourself. The woman used very strong words, and I think my translation in English isn't colorful enough to do her justice. If you haven't seen how Chinese argue and fight with each other, this is your chance to see it. So let me play that video. Please keep in mind that the subtitles move very fast because I try to catch all the dialogues going back and forth. But if I say woman, that means that's the woman that you see. You're only going to see one woman on the screen. That's this woman who hates Apple. But the subtitle, I tried to show you what other people were saying on site. So here we go. Here's the video.
我哪个好用哪个不行吗？我选择我自己喜欢产品，我要这事儿来说，这个要是真的不合理的话，为什么不在中国卖？为什么能在上海这么热门的地方开这么大一个店？有你这么败类才买的店啊！你们家你知不知道人家的 CEO 要去北京开会，人家国家都邀请人家去开会的 CEO 要呀，要你个妈的！ 你知道苹果每年为中国带来多少就业率吗？当然所有不需要。不需要就业是吧？中国不需要啊，我们有自己的华为，我们有自己的华为，我们有自己的华为。请那边，我们有那边华为，我们有华为，请什么请啊？那边华为那边。我为什么要买欧洲买苹果店？不买，我为什么管不着啊？太累，喝着鲜血的鲜烈的血，大口大口的喝着，做着被累的事。人家店开在这里，店开在这里，我就是这么说，难道不可以吗？牛逼！对呀，牛逼就是牛逼！对呀，我就是牛逼！好，太累了。啊，对，是哈，对，你一下什么东西啊？你好，怎么了？
有人闹事，这人闹事，来闹事的这个，不，
他知道对立，别吵了，笑死了。
Okay, all right, so that's hilarious. I mean, have you seen Chinese getting mad and getting into a argument? I mean, the language they use, and now you see it. It's what can I say? Oh, as a result of I don't know, as a result of this or some other concerns the authorities have. I think this group in front of the Apple store was dispersed very quickly. I think that the crowd was dispersed very quickly. I don't know exactly what happened, but that's what happened in front of the new Apple store last night. Right? No, actually this morning. It's our time this morning. It's their night. It's 7:30 their night. So it's our 7:30 in the morning. Oh my goodness. Now you know why I say Apple is in trouble, right? Anyways, you see you see the effect of brainwashing on people. I mean, that woman wasn't, I mean, she really spoke from her heart. You know, she wasn't just saying it. You know, at one point I was wondering if she could be one of those hired individuals, implanted there to kind of offset the the support for Apple there. But then, I don't think so. I mean, she doesn't look like someone who is faking it. Anyways, so now you know. In the video, someone who argued with the woman's in the beginning said that Tim Cook was going to Beijing as requested by the Chinese leader. And what he referred to was the annual China Development Forum, or CDF, to be held at the Diaoyutai State Gatehouse in Beijing from March 24th to the 25th. According to the Wall Street Journal, on March the 19th, other American CEOs expected at the forum, in addition to Apple's Tim Cook, include Qualcomm's Cristiano Amon, Pfizer's Albert Bourla, Steven Schwarzman from Blackstone, and Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates. It has been announced that China's Premier Li Qiang is not going to meet the CEOs alone. So it has been speculated that Xi Jinping might meet with the CEOs himself. In the past, the premier was the one who received the CEOs. In Shanghai, Tim also met with some of Apple's suppliers, including BYD Electronics. He met with Wang Chuanfu, the chairman and president of BYD company. So that's what I want to show you, what I want to tell you about Apple. Now let's talk about Tesla. Tesla's challenge in China is more complex than Apple. because in addition to the situation in which sales is going down due to overall economic hardship, and government agencies banning Tesla cars on premise, because these two issues are what Apple is experiencing, right? So on one hand, declined sales due to overall economic hardship, and on the other hand, the government is actively banning foreign brands. Now, in addition to having those two problems, like Apple, Tesla has another challenge, and that is Beijing feels threatened by SpaceX's Starshield project with the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office. But before we get into Beijing's reaction on the disclosure of SpaceX's project, let me first talk about the declining sales. Let me give you some sales data and how Tesla has addressed it. I would just quickly go over some numbers with you because I don't think you have already seen it. Tesla's shipments from its Shanghai Gigafactory dropped to the lowest level in 14 months this February, last month. The China Passenger Car Association released the data on March 4th, showing that Tesla delivered 63,650 vehicles from the Shanghai factory in February, and the lowest since December 2022. Shipments in February fell nearly 16% compared to the previous month, and it's down by 19% year over year. And on the day this was announced, Tesla's stock fell 7.2% to $188. It has been, by the way, its stock has been down by 30% since the beginning of the year, and we're only through the first quarter. I mean, we're not even through the first quarter, right? We're, 21st of March? So we're still in the first quarter, and its stock has fell by 30%. Now, the good news is that Tesla isn't the only company suffering from poor sales. According to the Passenger Car Association, sales of new energy vehicles, including pure EVs and also plug-ins, decreased by 9% last month compared to February 2023. And Tesla's biggest competitor in China, BYD, suffered a 37% decline in sales in the same month when compared with the same period last year. Tesla and BYD are considered the high-end sector in the EV market, in the Chinese EV market. Its sales somehow are more affected by the decline in the consumer demand. So facing slow demand and intensified competition, Tesla significantly reduced the prices of its Model 3 and Model Y and offered cash discounts for some Model Y vehicles. So, for example, on March 1st, Tesla announced that customers who take delivery of Model 3 and Model Y by the end of March can enjoy discounts of up to 34,600 yuan, and that's about 4,800 US dollars. It's a discount of almost 15% for the Model 3 cars. Tesla also provides a limited time insurance subsidy of 8,000 yuan for the rear-wheel drive version of Model 3 and Model Y. And if buyers want to change the car's color, the car company offers a discount of 10,000 yuan. BYD also reduced the starting price of its hybrid SUV, the Song dynasty. I mean, its cars are named by the different dynasties. So the Song Pro hybrid SUV, the price is down by 15%. Geely Auto also lowered the starting price of its best-selling Galaxy models by 15% and 9%. So you see, a price war is happening in China, and the price cuts are as deep as 15%. Now, a price war in the Chinese market will hurt Tesla's competitors more. This is because Tesla enjoys a high profit margin, but its competitors don't because they rely on government subsidies to be profitable. With that said, I want to say that Tesla's real challenge in China may be a political one. On March 16th, Reuters disclosed that the Starshield unit of Elon Musk's StarX is building a spy satellite network for the National Reconnaissance Office, a U.S. intelligence agency. Hold on one second. Okay. The satellites can track targets on the ground and share that data with U.S. intelligence and military personnel. It would enable the U.S. government to quickly capture continuous imagery of activities on the ground nearly anywhere in the world. This will aid intelligence and military operations. Now, this planned Starshield network is separate from the Starlink network. It represents one of the U.S. government's most sought-after capabilities in space because it's designed to offer the most persistent, pervasive, and rapid coverage of activities on Earth. So basically, no one can hide. Now, Beijing has reacted to it. The day after Reuters' article, an official Weibo account associated with the PLA, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, whose name sounds like, the Chinese name of the Weibo account sounds like political commentary of the PLA. And it posted this reaction. I have an imagery. I'll just read you a section of it. The links are provided in the description of the video. So it says, such a maneuver by the U.S. highlights its shamelessness and double standards. The world is not dictated by what the U.S. says or wants to do. We advise the American company, not here at Tesla, or I mean Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, not to act as accomplice to such actions. At the same time, every country in the world should be vigilant and take precautions against the U.S. government in creating new and greater security threats. The next day, which is the 18th, Xinhua published an article. Actually, Xinhua republished an article authored by the Global Times. And this one is more detailed. It talked about its concerns. It goes something like this. Sorry, this is the Global Times article. Excuse me. It says, it quoted two military experts in the article. So it says, military expert Wei Dongxu told the Global Times on the 17th that the reason the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office chose SpaceX is mainly because of the advantage of the company's large number of small satellites, which can cover more orbital levels to the maximum extent possible. Due to the large number of satellites, surveillance of a certain area may achieve full coverage. And by full coverage, we mean both the monitored area and monitoring time. The Starshield system uses a large number of spy satellites to conduct intelligence reconnaissance globally, thus creating an omnipresent spy network above all countries around the world. It went on to talk about countermeasures. It says, once the American spy satellite network is established, countries and regions will definitely take some countermeasures, such as transferring relevant facilities underground or using optical camouflage for concealment. Therefore, the establishment of a spy satellite network doesn't make it easy for the US to obtain sensitive intelligence information from countries globally. Now, CCP's biggest concern, I think, is expressed in the article in the next passage. It says this: once the surveillance system of spy satellites controlled by the US becomes operational, it will pose a significant threat to world peace and stability, potentially impacting the lives of ordinary people. The vast network of spy satellites in space would not only monitor military targets, but also many civilian targets. Even the daily lives of ordinary people may be exposed to surveillance, which will have a negative impact on information security and personal privacy protection. Now, the CCP isn't concerned with personal privacy or personal protection as described in the passage. That's not what it meant, because the CCP has spent so much money to build surveillance systems to watch its own citizens. It has violated all sorts of personal privacies, right? So it has no concern for personal privacy. It understands that with the Starshield network in space, the Americans are able to watch the moves of all the CCP officials, right? Beijing is concerned with the leader's privacy and protection, and that's what it meant. And this is what it worries about. The article also named Elon Musk. This is how it addressed Elon Musk. It says when Musk founded SpaceX, his goal was to realize the dream of establishing space technologies. As the company continues to develop, SpaceX has achieved many successes and accomplishments. But if it cooperates with the US military deeply and carries out tasks such as intelligence gathering, Musk has deviated from his original intention in establishing the company. The article ended with this line. It said, "It is precisely because of the approach taken by the United States that someday in the future we may have to face one reality, which is that space will become a new battleground." Okay, with all that said, I think Elon Musk and Tesla will have quite a challenge ahead of them in battling the CCP. We should keep an eye on, how the CCP react to this. It's certainly nerve-wracking to the CCP leader, to the leadership, and it will certainly put pressure on Elon Musk and make his company, make Tesla more difficult to do its business in China. So we'll see how Elon Musk handles that. That's all I want to share with you today. Let me see if people have questions for me. All right. Let me start from the beginning. I'll go through the super chats first. Let's see. Let me get rid of this slide. All right, let's see. If people have questions for me, put my name in the front so I know it's addressed to me. C2. Well, thank you. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, thank you. Well, thank you, C2. Thank you, Sumilan. Let's see. Controlled opposition. There isn't. Okay, David Lopan. Elon Musk gave the CCP SpaceX technology, though, without considering of this civil military fusion. Thoughts? Wait a minute. It just jumped. Elon Musk gave the CCP PLA SpaceX technology, though, without considering of the civilian military fusion. Thoughts? Are you saying that? I don't think. I don't know if he did. That's really totally senseless. That's reckless action on his on his part. What I heard is China put so much pressure on Elon Musk to ask him not to provide the Starlink broadband service over China and also over Taiwan. And Elon agreed, right? Elon agreed to shield his Starlink service from above mainland China, and he also included Taiwan in that. And that's and Gallagher, the congressman from is it from Kentucky? No, from Wisconsin, the head of the congressional China Affairs Committee, wrote a letter to Elon Musk, asking him to explain that. Remember that? So yeah, so he has gave in. He has gave in to. I mean, I can understand how he agreed to CCP by temporarily not offering Starlink in China, but why Taiwan? I mean, Taiwan, is a separate market. I mean, his global China market does not include Taiwan. So why does he include Taiwan in this ban? I mean, that's just a bad decision on his part. Thank you, Venkat. All right, let's see. Nick Fury. China just annexed part of Gulf of Tonkin next to Vietnam, violating UNCLOS. Will Vietnam and China clash before 2030? Let's talk about, speaking of Vietnam, let's talk about the resignation of its president, right? Somebody said Lei went to Vietnam, and then the next thing we know is its president resigned. No, I'm just kidding. It has nothing to do with my trip to Vietnam, shall we say. And I mean, on the surface, I mean, Vietnam is very similar to China. I mean, he stepped down. I mean, he stepped down on grounds of what? Corruption. So the VCP is using corruption as a as as a way to sack its officials. So it's very similar, but we know it's probably the result of political infighting. I think there's growing opposition to the current VCP leader, and I heard that the president that's stepping down, the guy is only in his 50s, is young. He was likely the successor of the current party leader. So the fact that he stepped down is an indication that the internal opposition is growing stronger. So all of that is very similar to the CCP, right? So, anti-corruption, political cleansing in the name of anti-corruption, and then internal political infightings, and that's all very similar to the CCP. But on the other hand, it's also different because the guy resigned. At least the VCP allowed a high-ranking official to resign, but in the history of the CCP, you don't see a CCP leader resign. They'll just quickly remove him or send him into retirement or do something, but they don't accept resignations. Because that's a very Western liberal concept. Once you work for the CCP, you don't have the choice of quitting, and that's the idea. Someone asked me, C2, what do you think of the depiction of the Cultural Revolution in Netflix's Three-Body Problem? I have not seen that, so I cannot comment on it, but thank you for mentioning it. So maybe I'll check it out. Okay. Booyah 360 report. The Chinese have malware in all U.S. infrastructure. Will these business leaders help address this major concern? That's a good question. I think the U.S. got the CCP bad actions by the CCP, right? The accumulative bad actions by the CCP in the past decade is now costing the US taxpayer a lot of money to address. Think about the money we'll have to spend to address these infrastructure um, threats. Um, so 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 we're basically paying the price for our politicians' ignorance for the past 20 years, and now now we have to address them all, and there are so many issues. So I hope our politicians work smart. You know, they should try to address the root issues. If you just try to address the problem as they pop up, it will be very exhausting. Um, all right, let's see. Wabu Wabu. How do you feel about Japan devalue their currency in exchange for US dollars? Rumor has it Japan will have lots of buying power within the next 5 years. Well, the Japanese economy is certainly doing very well. It has finally stepped out of the shadow of the lost decades. How do I feel about Japan devalue their currency in exchange for US dollars? Yeah, it's what, at 150, 100, $1 to 150 yen. It is low. What do I think of it? I cannot say anything at this point. I think currency as one the currency war is a double-edged sword. It can go both ways. So I'd better look into that before I say anything. Um, John S. U.S. troops in Taiwan comments. Why not? And I mean, this is one of the before CCP has made this issue like one of like the three conditions for it to start a war on Taiwan, right? One of this, foreign military on Taiwan. But look what happened. Not much. So that just shows you the CCP is paper tiger. Although today we have heard from one of the U.S. Commanders stationed in the Pacific region, and his testament, he's saying that he's saying something. He said something to the effect that CCP or Xi Jinping has ordered the PLA to be prepared for war by 2027, which is not that far away from now. It's only 3 years away. Okay. All right. That seems to be all. I don't have any other questions. I think Oh, here's Ed C. My friend in China tells me that BYD can sell an EV car only because the cost of labor is low in China. Do you think that this is true, or are there heavy subsidies from the government? I did an analysis to compare BYD to Tesla. I did actually 2 programs at the beginning of 2023. And BYD was profitable only because of the government subsidies. BYD, large SOEs or large companies that are controlled by the government, such as BYD. I mean, BYD is not a SOE, but it's almost like a SOE because it's strategically important to the CCP. These companies are also prone to corruption. So why do you think it wouldn't be profitable without government subsidies, right? So these companies are not very efficient. So its profit margin is very small. Before it, at the beginning of 2023, when Tesla reduced its prices to be more competitive, the Chinese officials and his competitors begged him to increase prices. And that surprised Elon Musk. You don't have competitors coming begging you to increase price. But that just told you how unprofitable the other Chinese EV makers were. And now that the competition is much more intense, and everyone is reducing prices. So it would definitely hurt the Chinese EV makers more than Tesla, because Tesla's profit margin was very high. I think I did a calculation at one point. It was what, 30%. I don't remember the exact number, but you can look at my 2 live streams in the beginning of, I think it was in January of 2023. So Tesla can afford a discount, but the other Chinese EV makers are not able to, unless the Chinese government is giving them money behind the scene. But the question is, how much money does Xi Jinping still have to help these EV makers? I really doubt it. Let's see. That seems to be all. That's all. That's all the questions I have addressed. All right. Let me go back. Yeah, I think that's all. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you over the weekend. Oh, here's one from C2. Last question. It's last question. I know you were recently in Vietnam. What was the favorite dish you ate? What was the favorite dish you ate? I don't know. I don't know what you call that. But there were it seems to be a mainstay of Vietnamese cuisine, that they offer you all sorts of grilled meat with a variety of fresh leaves, and then chopped vegetables, and use very thin rice paper to wrap them. I don't know what you call that, but my Vietnamese friends, on the show, please help me. I don't know what it's called, but that's my favorite, because first of all, it's very interesting. It's almost like, you have to make your own food, and then you eat a lot of fresh vegetables, which I like. Um, so I think that's wonderful. And that's unique to Vietnamese food, because the other noodle soup, like pho, or chicken noodle soup, or roasted duck noodle soup, or I mean, we have similar items, we have similar dishes in Chinese food, but the rice paper wraps is unique in Vietnamese food. So that's what I like it. I don't know what it's called. It's spring rolls. Well, here we have the already wrapped spring rolls, right? We buy fresh rolls. Or they call it summer rolls. It's already wrapped. But over there, you make your own rolls, and the paper is tiny. It's a palm size square rice paper, and you mostly wrap everything with lettuce leaves, but the paper serves as adhesive. To be honest with you, the rice paper is sticky, so it just sticks everything together. So it's different from the fresh rolls we eat here. Okay. It sounds like it's like a experiment. You feel like you're in a lab, working with all these ingredients. It's quite fun. I like it. Rice paper rolls. I'm a Vietnamese. Okay, good, good. Well, people help me. Tell me what it's called. Is there a Vietnamese name for it? And almost transparent. Yeah, the rice paper is very thin. It's almost transparent. Yeah. All right, that was my last question. I thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you this weekend. Okay, stay well. Bye-bye.